I am like a ship at sea, my never-ending thoughts of the winds directing my sail and the waves crashing beneath me. I am a foreign object, drifting in the sea as it sways, dips, and swells in tune with the wind and the waves that surround it. The sea is the most peaceful bed to fall asleep in, until the storm comes. My mind first becomes clouded by an approaching black fog. That fog is so dense and stretches past all the horizons around me. It is heavy and has no mercy. It suffocates the air and crushes my chest as I struggle to breathe. This is a fog of nightmares where all my monsters go to hide. My monsters, depression and anxiety, lurk on the edge of the fog, just waiting for the wrong time to attack. The monsters are like sharks circling my ship, looking for a weakness in my hull. With nowhere to run, I prepare myself for what happens next. The wind picks up speed and sends freezing winds straight to my core. The wind builds up its power and pulls clouds above my head. Those clouds settle above me, but stir the waves beneath me. The waves start to thrash up against the side of my ship, getting higher and higher each time it gets slammed back and forth. All around me, the waves begin to swirl, showing glimpses of the monsters that circle me. Within a minute of the first one arriving, the cloud opens up its floodgates, releasing their water droplets, as if to cry for me. Quickly, I feel my body getting heavier, my lungs filling with water. I think I'm drowning, and the monsters are getting restless. As their snarls grow closer, my panic sets in, and that's when anxiety attacks. Anxiety is ruthless and knows no boundaries. Anxiety is unforgiving, consistent, and will attack at any unpredictable time. After a while, anxiety consumes all of my energy and retreats back into the sea to be seen another day. I take a deep breath and begin to process my experience. Right as I stand up and straighten my legs, my second monster, depression, attacks and sinks its teeth into me. Depression waits until I'm at my most vulnerable to attack, so I have less energy to fight back, letting it take up a vacancy on my ship. But depression weighs on me and the ship to the point where we take on water. Depression was the beast that I could never tame. Thankfully, I'm not alone. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, 6.8 million Americans are affected by generalized panic disorder, GAD. They also report that more than 16.1 million Americans manage a major depressive disorder, and about 3.3 million Americans have persistent depressive disorder, PDD, which means they've had symptoms for multiple consecutive years. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America also reports that the standard treatment is therapy with a licensed counselor or medication through your primary doctor or a licensed psychiatrist. Personally, I battle multiple mental illnesses and have seen my primary doctor and a few licensed counselors to learn how to manage it all. Counseling works great to work through the issues and straighten out my thoughts, but the counselor referred me to a psychiatrist to open my possibilities to medication. After attempting multiple drugs and multiple doses, I discovered that I cannot take pharmaceutical drugs without getting violently sick. We brainstormed and attempted multiple routes of treatment, but ultimately decided continuing counseling was the only way to go until another solution could be found. I got very discouraged and began researching alternate methods of treatment. My original counselor was also looking for alternate methods when she stumbled across an accreditation website where she could get licensed to prescribe emotional support animals and connect patients with service dogs. She quickly brought this option to the table, and I put serious consideration into the fact that I might be adopting a dog, an emotional support dog. My first question was, what is an emotional support animal? Well, according to the Federal Fair Housing Act, an emotional support animal is a type of assistance animal that is recognized as a reasonable accommodation for a person with a disability. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, an assistance animal is not a pet. In the eyes of the law, an assistance animal is a form of treatment for those who suffer from any type of disability, including depression and anxiety. My next question was, what's the difference between an emotional support animal and a service animal? The answer is simple. A service animal is trained to perform a specific task, while an emotional support animal provides therapeutic benefits through companionship. While an emotional support animal does not need to be trained to do a specific task, the animal must be able to alleviate at least one identified symptom of a person's mental illness or disability. After getting all my questions answered, I knew this was the option I had to try. I went straight home from that session to research dog breeds to find a breed that would work out best for me. I brought up the idea to my long-term partner and roommate, and he agreed that it sounded like a great fit. The next day, on a whim, we decided to go to the local humane society to go see some animals. We walked into the shelter and headed towards the kennels. All the kennels were full, and some even had multiple dogs inside. Almost all the dogs were at the front at the gate, patiently waiting for their pets from us, except for one. The volunteer in the room told us, yeah, he's been here for a few days, but he just sits there and he shakes. I took a moment to sit in front of the kennel. I put my fingers to the fence and I called him over. After a couple seconds, the pup stood up, very weakly, and slowly waddled over to me at the fence. That's when I met Finley. The volunteer stood in shock for a moment and said in disbelief, "He hasn't moved since we put him in there." The volunteer asked if we'd like to bring him to the visitation room to socialize, and I said yes before he could even finish the question. The first hour in the visitation room was spent with him sleeping in my lap and volunteers coming in to see for themselves that it was really happening. I fell in love with Finley, but the shelter's intake nurse warned me that he would not make the best fit for a support animal due to his timid behavior and lack of information. Unfortunately, Finley was a rescue down south and was transferred over 5 times to 5 different shelters due to overcrowding, so a lot of information got misplaced or recorded incorrectly in the moves. After a few visits, though, he completely changed, and I knew that he would make a great emotional support animal. It's been 2 years since I adopted Finley and registered him as an official emotional support animal. He even has his own ID. Since meeting Finley, my depression went from being classified as persistent depressive disorder to being a type of major depressive disorder, and my anxiety attacks reduced from having over 10 a week to having maybe 1 or 2 a month. Having Finley has given me a new lease on life. Every morning I wake up ready to take on the day with him by my side. He has given me confidence to live my life without anxiety and is always able to put a smile on my face with just a shake of his tail. I'm always going to be a ship out at sea, but each day is a new journey. I never know how the journey will be, since storm clouds come out of nowhere and can disappear just as fast. But now I have support to get me through each day. He can warn me when the monsters start to circle, and he can help me fight my monsters by distracting me from their taunts. I can be in the darkest of fog, the deadliest of storms, and Finley will step in as powerful as the sun to send the fog retreating back to where it came from. Sometimes normal, standard methods, they don't work, and we need to seek alternative solutions. In my case, standard pharmaceutical medications did not work for me, and I could not battle my monsters. Instead, I looked into emotional support animals to help me fight. Finley was never trained to take on the responsibility of my protector, but he continues to do the job every day, so successfully and effortlessly. Finley may have been a rescue, but really, who rescued who?